Hello everyone, this is Sagar Chetri. Today I would like to discuss about networking Q&A sessions. This is related to the very basic questions arises during the work. So let's begin with the first questions. What is the role of a router in a network and how is it different from a switch? So basically, a router is a layer 3 device which works in layer 3 of OSI model to deal with the IP addresses and help us to connect the multiple networks and provides the solution for best route for the delivering the data from one network to other network. On the other hand, the switch, which works within same network, help us to create a bigger network by allowing to connect multiple devices into each ports. As you can see on the picture, there are so many ports available on the switch. On the other hand, on router on the top, you can see there are very less ports are available. You can see the symbols that we use for the designing on the right hand side. Let's move on to the next question. The second question is, what is MAC address and how is it used in networking? MAC address is a 48-bit hexadecimal address, and it usually a six set of two digits separated by the columns. For example, you can see on the screen 0260HC391F2A, and this is also known as the hardware address, and which is unique in the globally. This is unique and never changes, that help us to deliver the message to the right device at right time. It is available in the most of the network adapters. They have a different MAC addresses for the different network interface card. Let's move on to the third question, which is can two devices in a network have the same IP addresses? Why or why not? Two devices in a network, in single network, they shouldn't have a same IP addresses, because if they have a same IP address, there will be a more chance of having IP address conflict. That means that your devices having IP addresses resembling with the other device will not take part on the communications while we transferring the data from our device to the other device. That will not be working because of the IP address conflict. And if anyone is trying to send data to your device, that will be failed because of the IP conflict. We can resemble it as our house address. If we have two house with the same address in same lane, if delivery comes, that will be get confused. Is the same way we can think about the networking devices as well. We need to solve these issues by command prompt or network setting adapters. So let's move on to the next question, which is describe the OSI model and explain the function of layer 2 and layer 3. Basically, OSI model is a open system interconnection model. This is a reference framework, which help us to understand the whole process of data flowing from one device to the other device throughout the network. In single device, let's say if it begins from any of the applications which is using HTTP, FTP or SMTP, don't worry about the FTP, SMTP. Basically, FTP is to sending the data like for the file transfer protocol. HTTP is for the, if you are accessing the google.com or facebook.com, they're all using HTTP or HTTPS. That is the protocol for the web browser. Web applications as well. If any data starting from that applications will have to follow through the presentation layer, session layer, transfer layer, network layer, data link, and physical layer. Let's discuss about the layer 2 and layer 3, which are pretty common for the networking, for the some of the issues related with the networks. The first one, layer 2, is the data link layer. Data link layer is basically dealing with the frames and the switches are the devices which operates in layer 2 by default. So this is the layer which help us to allow the data to access, like how they're gonna access the travel the media, like that could be the Ethernet or maybe Wi-Fi, or also it will allow based on the cable type, like how many bandwidth it has available. So based on that, it will allow to flow the data, the control, it will control the flow of the data over the cables as well, over the Wi-Fi, and also allow us to if any device sending the data to other device, the receiver side, it will help us to check the errors if it receives any unwanted data, or if that is the original one from the data link layer. Let's move on to the network layer, which is the layer 3 of the OSI model. It helps us to find the best path from one point to the other point. For this layer, as I already mentioned, routers are the ones who is dealing with the network layer, and IP addresses assigned to the routers which connects with the different networks will be the network layers. So the next question is, what happens when a device cannot obtain an IP addresses from the DHCP server, and how do you troubleshoot it? Let's say we have a device which already has a IP addresses. There are two different scenarios. Let's say if we are trying to get a IP address by manually, and which that IP address has been assigned somewhere else already, and that will cause the IP conflict and will not get the IP address. And there is another scenario where we are selecting the assign IP address automatically in our devices from the DHCP server, but because of the malfunction of the server, because of could be any issues on the network, you are not able to get the IP addresses, and you will receive your device will automatically get the IP address assigned itself, that will be starting from 169.254 that we call as auto configuration IPv4 address or APIPA. That means your device will no longer be communicating with the other devices even within a LAN. So to solve these issues, we can go to our network adapter settings or go to our command prompt. We can do it from that. From the network adapter settings, we can select the static IP address and change it back to automatic one again. By doing that, it will restart the DORA process to get the IP addresses from the DHCP server. On the other hand, we can use the commands like ipconfig / first of all we will release the IP addresses of lost the DNS, and later on we can renew the IP addresses and register the DNS services. So this will be a help to troubleshoot, or we can also use the network troubleshooter from the PCs as well. The next question is, explain the steps involving in the DHCP process, which is called the DORA, to assign the IP address to a client. You can see on the picture, let's say if we have a new computer connecting to the port of the switch which has a available DHCP server, and the client that PC, the brand new PC will broadcast message, which is called the discovery message. It will say like, who is the DHCP server, I need a IP address in sort of that. The server once receive that discovery message, that will send unicast messages, which is called the offer messages. Hey, I have a list of IP addresses, and then send it to the client. Then client responds, select one of the IP addresses available from the DHCP provided by the server. Then response with I want these IP addresses, then server acknowledges that this complete the process first with like how long will be the release according to the protocols that we have set up already, and that will start acknowledgement, start sending the acknowledgement message saying that that IP address has been assigned to the device with MAC address connected to the server. So let's move on to the next question. What is the role of DNS in a network, and what would happen if DNS server is not reachable? DNS is abbreviated from the domain name system, which is very handy. Like, we are humans, it's very hard to remember the numbers all the time, but computing devices are very good at remembering the numbers rather than the alphabetical. So domain name system makes it easier to human readable format in alphabetical names. For example, www.example.com to its certain IP address, and or vice versa. For if any of the devices having issues to get the IP config plus IP config, we can use the IP config plus DNS to clear the cache of DNS server, and then register again, and then this will be helpful to understand the DNS related issues. And also we can use the network troubleshooter from the network advanced network settings. Also, you can see on the picture that there is a user who is sending some of the DNS queries, let's say www.google.com, and first of all it will send it to the recursive DNS server, which is closest to you, could be on closest to your device, and if that is not responsive, it will send it back to the authoritative DNS server, and even that doesn't have any information on that, then there will be no response for the DNS. Then users will lost the www.google.com can't be resolved to the IP address. So we can use the commands already mentioned, that flush DNS, register DNS, and we can also use the IP address releasing, renewing, and resetting the IP address as well. Let's move on to the next question, which is explain the differences between the static and dynamic IP addresses. When would you use? So the performance, the configurations of static IP address is, you can see on the left hand side, we have to type it manually. Select the use the following IP address in the adapter settings, and for the automatic assignment for the dynamic IP addresses, we can click on the obtain IP address automatically, where our device will automatically get the IP address from the available DHCP server. So on the left hand side, which is the static IP address, once you assign that is very good, very good practice for hosting the servers. If anyone is trying to, most of the time gets remote access and VPNs, business network, we can use the static IP address. On the other hand, for the automatic IP addresses, if anyone is like for the home internet users or the casual users, temporary connections, we can use the dynamic IP address. The static IP address has a benefits. It has to be manually assigned and it never changes, so we know what IP address is assigned to which device, let's say for the server. Let's move on to the next question. How do you find the network IP information, including DHCP, DNS information, and how do you test your network connectivity? We can check the network connection settings by two different methods. So you can see on the left hand side there is network adapter settings, network connections. Go through the correct adapter, and and see the properties. You will see the DHCP has been enabled and available IP address is that subnet mask, including the DHCP server DNS records and gateway as well. So on right hand side of the screen you can see the command prompt commands. So type the IP config / all and you will be able to get the available informations about the IPv4 DNS server, all the information on your screen on Windows. For the Mac, maybe we can use ifconfig / all. To check the connectivity, we can use the command ping and type the host name, that is the IP address of any host. By ping, on the picture you can see the ping 192.168.40.86. If it is pingable within the network connection, you will get the reply with the time. If it is not reachable, you will see not reachable or any other information, so which is host not reachable or could be the timeout error messages. Thank you.